Started. Good morning, everyone. We made it to Friday morning. We're going to start with a user-centered approach to digitization and access. No, sorry, that is wrong. Yes, okay, that's correct. Sorry. We're starting with a user-centered approach to digitization and access at the National Archives with Carrie Young. And Carrie Young is a Historypin engagement manager in San Francisco. She's worked on a number of projects, including the crowdsourced-based Year of the Bay, and is currently working with the National Archives on a World War I and World War II moving image engagement project. So please welcome Carrie Young.
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me okay? Yes. Good morning. Thanks for coming so early to the session. Oh, okay, sure. Just get right in here. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So I'm Carrie, and I'm an engagement manager at Historypin, as Tim mentioned. So the U.S. National Archives, or NARA, they brought us on board to help develop a new engagement strategy around a large-scale digitization project on World War I and World War II moving images and photographs. And so I've been working with our internal and external audiences to help develop engagement on the ground. So that's what I've been working on. So just really quickly, just how we got here. An anonymous donor gave NARA $1.6 million to preserve and access World War I and World War II moving images and photographs over the course of 3 years. And as part of this, the motion picture preservation team at NARA is scanning hundreds and hundreds of films in HD, including the 111H collection, which is the main series containing World War I films. And also a select number of World War II items as well. And another example is the still images team at NARA is also scanning over 100,000 images, eventually, of World War I images, and so far they've scanned up to 22,000. So it's a huge amount of content. It's a really great amount of content that we really want to be helping to get out there. So yeah, and importantly, so we want to make sure that people are engaging with this content, that it's not just digitized and sitting in NARA's catalog for no one to find. So that's where we at Historypin come in. So we help community groups and institutions run place-based storytelling projects in their local areas, and with a particular focus on social impact and building evaluation frameworks to look at that impact. And the Wartime Films Project, which is what we are tentatively calling the overall project, has been a great kind of opportunity for taking a user-centered design approach to engagement. A lot of what we at Historypin have done before. And to really think about how we can just build a culture of reuse at NARA. So we know that NARA reaches certain audiences, from researchers who visit the research room to teachers using their really awesome Docs Teach education materials. But beyond that, it wasn't really clear who is actually engaging with their content. So that's why this project has it's been a great opportunity to take this research further and to just experiment. And that's what we've been doing. And NARA has really been fantastic in helping us take this approach to evaluation and engagement in a way that really hasn't been seen before at the archives. So a big part of our approach has been designing measurement frameworks initially, and this is pretty much what we largely focused on for the first 9 months or so, I would say. And so through kind of a series of interviews, literature reviews, case studies, we summarized 9 key communities of interest and developed user personas to better understand the motivations for, as well as the challenges to utilizing the wartime films in these particular communities. So where we started is we started with our potential audiences. So we did a lot of interviews with internal NARA curators to really get a good sense of who they currently are engaging with and what their current levels of engagement might be. And so in choosing the 9 target audiences that you see here, see here on this graph, we're really looking in particular for magnifiers of engaged learning and groups that are community hubs in of themselves. And that's how we are also measuring impact on this graph that you see. So the idea here is that we eventually want to be moving all of these groups to the upper right-hand quadrant, where higher levels of impact are kind of marrying with higher levels of engagement as well. So part of making this happen is that we've been working with NARA to really get a full sense of what full engagement might look like and how to prioritize certain groups. Since we have 9, it's a lot of groups. And also kind of looking at what the ideal scenarios would be of these different audiences using and reusing the wartime films. And so while there are groups on the periphery of this graph that we aren't currently focusing our engagement on, we have them here because we do see the potential for engaging them moving forward. And we want to really stress here that our approach is an iterative one. Like, we want to make sure that we're changing and kind of, being malleable as we go along, but that we are being conscious of building upon, all of our research as we go forward. We also looked at case studies as a kind of fun way to get inspired by how others are engaging their communities not only with films but and institutional materials, but just the types of resources, platforms, and other elements that can give us ideas for how to design specific products for specific audiences. So for example, on the left we have the guys from Men in Blazers. Not sure if you guys are familiar, but they are now hosting an NBC talk show kind of engaging Americans in what is, to Americans, the very niche sport of soccer, just covering English Premier League games, and just making a topic that's not really popular here, just really engaging, really fun through a specific type of reporting. So just through humor, etc., they're making this topic really fun, and we really love that. And on the other side is Community Cinema, which is from PBS's Independent Lens series. And we love that as well because it's kind of utilizing content experts, and they also have a nice mix of online and offline engagement. And they're also bringing in diverse audiences as the topics are changing. So these are just a few examples of kind of fun case studies that we looked at early on for inspiration. So from our original list of 9 target audiences, we then zoomed in on 3 audiences in particular who we are currently focusing our engagement on. And those are teachers from the K-12 level, museums of varying sizes nationwide, and also coders and digital humanists. So kind of in addition to representing different levels of risk and return based on existing NARA resources, from teachers, for example, being really highly engaged at NARA, down to coders who NARA would like to engage with more, especially with all the great metadata that we're generating from the films and photographs. These groups also just really represent the most potential for helping us amplify local community and reaching new audiences. And while there will be some overlap here with some of our original 9 target audiences, we hope to take our experiences of engaging these specific groups and just applying it to different subject areas moving forward. So building upon the kind of initial measurement frameworks that we've been looking at, in the past year we've been designing with NARA ways in which we can continue to measure engagement with these 3 groups in particular by building a more concrete evaluation framework. So really taking a hard look at the outcomes that we want to be seeing for these groups and for the project as a whole, some activities that can help to support these outcomes, and some measurements for these activities. And really awesomely, NARA has been able to support a product that is helping us to achieve these outcomes that we want to be seeing with these 3 groups. And that is a Remembering World War I app that we just released in beta, and I'll talk a little bit more about a little later. But this World War I app will basically help us take a really deep, geographically centered dive into NARA World War I content and eventually help people create their own collections as well. And so we had done a survey of what types of products and tools existed to help get NARA content out there to our audiences, including looking at kind of existing tools like NARA's DocsTeach apps. But yeah, and we found that an app would help to really amplify this type of content, as well as kind of being able to use existing NARA tools at the same time. So yeah, and that's what we are focusing our engagement on at the moment, the product that we are focusing on. So during this process, we want to make sure that we are collaborating as much as possible with our internal NARA curators, as well as members of our 3 target audiences. So to really help us develop the app. And so, for example, over the past 11 months, we've held 6 design workshops to help develop engagement around the app. And like this one this past summer that we held at the World War I Museum in Kansas City, and we collaborated on this workshop with the museum and also members from NARA's education staff. And it was great fun. I helped to lead this session, and a handful of teachers from all over the US came to really help us test the alpha version of the app and to provide feedback, and really to just help us get a sense of what the app can look like in a realistic, real-life classroom setting. And that's the type of information that is really, really valuable to us and what we really value our audiences giving. So we are currently seeding as much of NARA's World War I content as possible on our location-based Historypin platform, where we're working to create themed collections on World War I subjects recommended during the Kansas City workshop. So we are really here focusing on diverse people and places, and we're working with our content partners like the National World War I Museum to really kind of pull out the subjects and the pieces of content that can really help tell that diverse story of the war. And these collections, that a sample of which you're seeing here, are really providing jumping off points to content discovery, and they'll serve as inspirations for app users as they continue to grow. And also as the community for this Remembering World War I app continues to grow, we plan to work with our user design partners to create additional features such as helpful resource text aimed specifically at teachers and museum curators, for example.
Right. Are we?
Yes,
Yeah,
and so
we are out of
last
time.
slide,
Okay.
yeah. So finally, we've made our findings publicly available so that others can use and reuse all of our work, and that's what we want to see. And so, though I wasn't able to dig too deeply into what we're working on, you can find a downloadable report at the first link there of all of our initial audience research. And at the link, it's also part of a shorter series of blog posts detailing our strategy on NARA's blog. And also mentioned, really excitingly, we've just launched the beta of the Remembering World War I app, currently only for iPads, which we hope to expand really soon. But if you can, we'd love for you to just go to the iTunes store, download it, and also join the discussion for it at NARA's History Hub group, which is the second link up there. And we'll also be kind of posting updates as well as we go along. But we'd love for you to join the conversation around that and help us test it. So, yeah, and that's it. Yeah.
Right, thank you.
Thank you. And I can give you more of the links later if you didn't catch that.